Welcome to Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt of the Marquardt Law Firm at marquardtlawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, also on podcasts everywhere, Facebook Live, YouTube, and www.talklawradio.com. You can find archive episodes there of lots of different subjects. Today we're talking about Older Americans Month. This is a preview episode for our upcoming seminar on elder law and retirement symposium, which is going to be this Wednesday, May 24th at the Education Service Center on Hines at 6 p.m. So you're free to join us there as well. Just call to register in advance because seating is limited. You can call 210-530-4278. We're going to start talking about Medicare now, and you might remember that back in 1935, the Social Security Act was passed, and in 1965, 30 years after that, Lyndon Johnson signed an amendment to the Social Security Act that established Medicare, which they called a health insurance program for elderly Americans. And my guest today, Tim Allen, who works with AHIA, which stands for Affordable Health Insurance Agency, is going to talk to us about Medicare. So Tim, tell us, what Medicare plans are you authorized to sell?
Well, first of all, I need to say I'm not employed by Medicare, okay? We don't offer every plan that's available in this area, but we currently do represent 21 different companies, and we offer 191 Medicare-related products in this area. We need to let you know that if you'd like to hear about all of those options, you need to contact Medicare at 1-800-MEDICARE or your local state health insurance program to get information on all of your options. But we're authorized to sell most of the plans that are in this area.
Okay. And the Medicare website has some things there that people can use, right?
Yes, sir. That's a great resource. If you go to medicare.gov, on medicare.gov, it is a place where you can register. If you're on Medicare, you can register for your own web page, basically. And from there, you can pay your premiums. You can find out what your prescriptions would cost. You can look to see if there's another plan out there that might save you money on your medications. And we'll talk more about that, not only in this show, but we're going to be talking about that at the seminar that we're giving this next week. Yeah.
Wow, that website sounds pretty comprehensive. I'm just wondering how many folks over the age of 65 would be able to navigate something like that.
I think there are a lot of people that get on it and are able to use it well, but that's one of the things that both Rick and I do. We help train our clients on how to use that.
Oh, okay.
and in addition to that, when my clients send me a list of medications, one of the most important things that I can do is to research your medications and help you find a plan that's going to cost you the least amount of money, because medications can be the one thing that just really takes you down. I had a client just yesterday, in fact, that called me in tears because there were two medications she was taking that were just completely wiping her out. One was Eliquis and another was Myrbetriq. And both of those are very, we're talking hundreds of dollars for each per month.
Mm-hmm.
And she was looking for a way to find a lower cost. Well, I was able to help her in both of those by looking at basically it's a customer support company that's a foundation that will help to pay for the Myrbetriq or the Eliquis, and there are other companies out there like that.
Outside of Medicare.
It's outside of Medicare,
Okay.
and so once she gets this all approved and worked through, she should have to pay nothing for those prescriptions. Now, there are qualifications for eligibility, but if you meet those qualifications, there are foundations out there that can be extremely helpful, and that's one of the areas that we provide assistance with.
So she was on Medicare already, and her Medicare plan wasn't covering the medication she needed. So you had to find another resource outside of Medicare.
That's correct. And there are many resources outside of Medicare that can help. Now, in most cases, the insurance plan, once we find an insurance plan that covers the medications at the lowest possible cost, and there are well over 70 of those plans out there, so we input all those medications and we find the right plan that's going to be of value to them.
I
Okay.
just find it remarkable that Medicare didn't completely cover it, because I talk to a lot of people that think that Medicare is magic, that Medicare is going to take care of them, all of their needs for whatever comes up from age 65 on.
Well, it can provide for a lot of things. It really does. It does a lot of good. But basically, Medicare is going to cover about 80% of the cost, okay?
Of medications or
Of not
of everything?
medications. I'm talking about your medical care.
Doctor visits and that
Yeah.
sort.
Right. And you're responsible for the remaining 20%. And that's why Rick and I both work in this area where we help people with the supplements and help find the right plan. But they also need a drug plan in addition to that.
Mm-hmm.
And once they get on a prescription drug plan, we help them find the one that's going to get the lowest cost for all those medications. But then after that, there are all sorts of other issues that come up. The drug plan may be the best for them at the time. It may be the one that provides the lowest cost, okay? But having said that, they may have a drug that's very expensive. We have people that are on, that just had an organ transplant, and they're taking anti-rejection drugs that might be $1,500 a month or maybe more. We have people that, are taking products like I just mentioned to you that are costing $800 to $1,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
And they can't afford that, and their plan doesn't cover it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they need some help. And so that's where we're able to come in, and there are a number of different ways we can do that. One way would be through the use of the online pharmacies. Everybody's heard of GoodRx, right? But besides GoodRx, there are just a ton of other online pharmacies. And we encourage people to go through and look at those online pharmacies. We'll be talking about this more next week when we have the seminar, because there's not time to do this on the show.
I'm interested.
But we'll go over some of these on the show. We'll go over some of these so that people can hear about where they can go to find the best prices on their prescriptions. And of course, doctors are very, very good about writing samples. They may not do it indefinitely, but they'll do it for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a very, very big help too in trying to keep the cost down. There are a couple of other companies out there that Rick and I have used. One of them is prescriptionhope.com and another is nicerx.com. And in both cases, those companies will provide prescriptions at $50 a month. Well, if you have a prescription that's $800 a month and you can get it at $50 a month, that's a great backup. So either one of those two, if you're struggling and you have a prescription that's a very, very high cost, check out those two, prescriptionhope.com or nicerx.com. And again, there are eligibility requirements income-wise, but if you meet those, then you can really receive a lot of help toward that.
Well, you've identified a lot of resources for the listeners, and just keeping track of all the resources that are available seems like a big task to handle for just some regular grandmother or grandfather out there. So they probably be more helpful if they knew how to contact you. I know that Medicare regulations are always hanging over your head. Are you allowed to tell people how to contact you today?
You can reach me at 210-888-9818. That's 210-888-9818. You can talk to Rick as well. He also helps with Medicare. What's your?
210-573-2833. That's my cell phone.
So either
Okay.
either
Well,
one
you're
of
going
us.
to be getting a lot of calls now,
Yeah.
giving out your cell phone.
Looking forward to it.
Nights and weekends.
Yeah, always, always.
Before we talk more about Medicare drug plan, can we go through the ABCs of Medicare and just say what it is?
Sure. Those that are on Medicare have a red, white, and blue card. That's a Medicare card.
Mm-hmm.
And that there are two plans that are federal plans that are reflected in that card that most people have. Some only have one, but most people have what's called Medicare A, which covers hospital, and the other would be Medicare B, which covers general medical, which would be doctor visits, MRIs, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But that's only part of the picture. Besides the federal plans, they also need to have a drug plan as well, and that would be known as Part D, if you just think Part D for drugs, okay? So they have to have A, B, and D, and then they need to have the supplement to help pay the 20% that Medicare does not pay. Medicare is a great plan, but there's one little flaw that a lot of people don't know, and that is that there's no cap to what the beneficiary has to pay. If you're paying 20% and your 20% comes out to $50,000, are you ready to lay that down?
Yeah.
If it comes out to $100,000, are you ready to pay $20,000?
Wow.
And that's the reality. So there are people out there that say Medicare is great, that's all you need, but they don't understand there's a risk associated with that may be a lot greater than what most of us are willing to assume.
But there's something that you can do to mitigate that risk?
You can. There are one of two things. One would be to purchase what we call a Medigap supplement, and that pays the 20%. And the other way would be to go with what some people call Plan C. You may hear that on the radio. Do you have a Plan C? Well, if you have a Plan C, it just means Medicare Advantage plan.
Okay.
And Medicare Advantage plan is a plan that combines everything into one. Most of them include the drug benefit. Not all, but most of them include the drug benefit. And they work totally different than the supplement with Medicare.
Okay. And you help people understand all the differences,
We
right?
do.
Okay.
We do.
Because it sounds complicated. I don't have to know all that stuff because I'm not that old yet. And so I just sent people to your office and have you guys explain all of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick, anything that you want to add to Medicare? Anything in your experience that people need to know
Well,
going into it?
Tim summed it up really, really well. The only thing that I would add to that is that a lot of people, I run across one or two every week, it seems like, that think that Medicare covers long-term care, and it doesn't. By design, Medicare, the most that it will pay for long-term care is 100 days. And
In a rehab.
in a rehab or in skilled nursing facility. So people just have that misconception that, oh, well, Medicare pays for the hospital, or 80% of it, or 80% of the medical portion of it doesn't pay for long-term care. And so that's the big gap, that in addition to the medical side of it, the hospital and the medical,
And
the long-term care is a whole other category.
That issue that I wrote about in a legal journal, that was called Reliance on Inadequate Government Programs, because I think when they were advertising Medicare back in 1965, people got the impression, good or bad, that they were going to be taken care of, that was going to cover their medical needs. Now, medical needs, I think, have changed
Exactly.
over the last 60 years.
Life expectancies have changed,
Yeah.
and people at that time, it probably did take care of most of the needs, because most people were passing away around the age of 65.
Before
or
65.
Before, yeah. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah. Okay, well, we got to take another break, and when we come back, we'll be focusing on long-term care, how to pay for it, and what you need to know. So stay tuned.
This has been Talk Law Radio with attorney Todd Marquardt, brought to you by the Marquardt Law Firm. You can learn more at marquardtlawfirm.com. And be sure to listen to the full Talk Law Radio show Saturday mornings at 11 on 9:30 a.m. The Answer.
Each week, attorney Todd Marquardt talks about the law. His mission with the Talk Law radio show and podcast is to help you discover your legal issue blind spots. In the beginning, God had one law. Don't eat from the fruit of that tree. Then came the 10 Commandments. Now we have federal, state, and municipal lawmakers that won't stop creating new laws. Laws that might impact you without you knowing it. Listen to the show and drop a line on Facebook or email host@talklawradio.com and let the host know what you think of the show, the topics you want to hear, and whether you want to be a guest.